Let's do this analysis, all right? So, hope you guys are doing good. I'm gonna just get started here. You have news today, okay? I forgot you had news today, but you do have news at 8:30 today. It is called unemployment claims, meaning that after 8 a.m., 8:30 Eastern will likely be our positions, all right? Unless you get a trade right now, I don't think so though. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting how I do my analysis today, chat. I would suggest you guys tune in, record. Holy shit, GJ. Record if you can. And wow, 150 pips. Whoa. Wow, that is clean. GG's gonna move today too, because you know it ranges, but when it moves, it moves. Look at the last, like, what is this? 15, 30 days, 26 days, 36 days. You've been ranging ever since. You should pick up today. You should move. Yeah, man, that thing should move today. But yeah, chat. Let's do this analysis, right? And let's see what we got going on today. So yeah, you have unemployment claims today, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, and then tomorrow's Friday, right? Tomorrow you have what do you call it? Interest rates for the pound. No, that was this morning. Oh yeah, that was like 4 or 5 minutes ago. I forgot. Yeah, that's why. It makes sense. Yeah, tomorrow you have flash services PMI. So yeah, you have 2 more folders for the week, unemployment claims, and then I think some other minor folders today, existing home sales. But this is your major folder today. Okay, so 8:30, be on the lookout for major folders. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting how I play today's markets. So like in terms of when I say play, I mean like in terms of how we're gonna see the markets, how we're gonna view the markets, right? Because there's different routes we can really take, depending on the volume, depending on how the structure is formed. Right now it's looking pretty aggressive, so we can even go back to trading the way we did last year. You know, last night's Asian session trade was a closure below the range. That was it. Simple, right? But because like not every entry has to be a wick entry, right? But it comes down to what side you want to play to this. So let me just explain that in this analysis. Okay, so as you can see here, the monthly candle came up, created a top wick at 19.5. I lied. It did not create a top wick. It just came up again, but it didn't re-break its own high. It came up. Now it's flipping bearish again. You have about 8 days left in the month. You have about 2 days left in the, or yeah, a day and a half left in the week. Monthly candle looks like it may continue to I guess I'm not too sure if we have enough room and time to close above here with FOMC that came out yesterday, but I do however believe that we are going to be closing within this range here. I don't know if we're going to be closing below this month. It really comes down to how today plays out, or how this week plays out. But yeah, overall, like this is the month that we're in, or the range that we're in right now, within this range. Unless you actually break out by in 8 days here, maybe if you close below 1875, sure, next month could continue further down. But until then, I'm not too sure what's gonna happen just yet for the monthly. We're just in that range, but we are bearish technically, right? Problem is there's no top wick, but again, I don't think we'll create a top wick. If it wasn't yesterday, then it's not gonna be for the rest of the month. I think we are gonna close bearish if anything, and then next month's candle might create that top wick for you to drive down, right? But it won't be this month's candle. I highly doubt it. The weekly here is looking like it has flipped bearish, rebroken the lows, right? So I think you did come up, you filled the top of the range. Now I don't know if this is really the high though, because okay, I'm gonna explain the daily in a bit because the daily time frame is very key. But like this is the range we're in right now, and I would assume that if you were to drive down to fill the rest of the range, which is going to be down here at 1880, that you're going to continue to pop up first towards 1860 to grab liquidity, because that's what these counts all did to the left here, right? Y'all came up first before coming down to fill the range. Came up, filled the range, right? So I would assume the same thing would happen as you come down for the weekly, right? I mean, you can definitely come down towards 1913, 1912, 1910, but is that enough room for you to go down towards 1985, 1960, and then obviously 1909? I don't know. I believe for that to happen, for you to really drive down towards 1860, whatever it is, right? You're gonna need to look like this. If this were to happen, sure, you know, sure, that could happen. You can likely come down, but until you actually close, or until you actually grab liquidity at like 1860, it's very tough. But doesn't mean you can't come down. Doesn't mean you can't take sells. Doesn't mean you can't take advantage of the sells, right? I am in sells myself on that swing still, right? But yeah, like 1910 should be highly likely achievable could possibly even be today, right? But after you tap 1910, what happens? Are we gonna flip bullish, back up to retest the highs, or are we gonna continue to push down, right? So I'm gonna explain the daily right now in a second. The daily today. So if you guys take a look here, I understand that you are in this range here, right? So if you guys take a close look, there's this resistance to the left here, which you did tap. You did fill the range. That's cool. Right? So there's a possibility that today's candle, yes, it could likely continue to push down, but there's no top wick here. So I'm not too sure how much of a factor this will create on price today. But I would assume that if you had a top wick, there's a higher chance that you'll likely come down and fill the range. But there's no top wick here. I believe at some given point, you're gonna come down here. You're gonna tap 1913. And 1913, 1910, 1911, in these ranges here, you're going to see some type of rejection. So can we possibly take advantage of the rejection for the top wick today? Right? Because, there's no top wick on the daily, right? But you can still fill the range and then create a top wick afterwards. The range fills at 1910, 1913-ish, right? Within those ranges, looking left, this is all clean traffic to the left-hand side. Let me just check something real quick on the daily. I think oh yeah, never mind. I thought I saw the daily close doji. I guess it closed strongly bearish. All right, well, but yeah, like you have room coming down here. So I'm trying to see if we can grab sells coming down towards like 1910, 1911, and then after we grab the sells, we grab buys back up from 1911 back up towards 1932. Because I believe today I don't know if we're gonna be aggressively coming down to fill the rest of the range at like 1900. I believe though 1910 is highly achievable. But after 1910, it's kind of like, okay, well, are we going to continue to push back up to retest the highs here? Right? Because technically speaking, right? Chat, remember when I told you guys about a couple days ago? I was like, I think the whole entire week last week and the last 2 weeks, I was like, yo, there's something to be grabbed at 1912, 1911. Remember I said that? Like we've been speaking about that 1912 level for weeks now. Like it's been weeks, right? And we're finally coming down. So is there a possibility that since the last 2 candles have all closed respecting support, like because technically this one, technically it is a doji. Like in some given way, it is a doji because it did open and close where the day started, right? But it obviously came up first to grab liquidity. Or is that just a write-off candle, right? Because look, you have a resistance right around here, right? You have a resistance here. You have a support here at the bottom of the range. This is the range you're in. These candles, this one closed above the range, right? And the reason why I said I was expecting this candle to continue driving up, but the only way to drop up towards 1980, 1970 is if you were to grab liquidity first before coming up, right? And we were looking for liquidity at around like 1920 till 1910ish in these ranges here, because that's what these candles did. Right before making it to move up, and they all kind of grab liquidity there before making that move up towards the resistance, right? So that's what we're looking at throughout the last couple of weeks. And is there a possibility that today's candle has no top wick because at any given point it's still above the range and it can flip bullish, right? There's different ways you can view the markets today. Like obviously, it doesn't mean like there's only buys or sells. Like you can take whichever. We can take sells and then buys for all I know. But if this were to happen today, I would not be surprised at all. Right, because that'll be your liquidity for us to continue driving up to retest the highs. Right, because look, you technically respected that support, most recent support. Obviously, there's another resistance right around here, right, which you've respected. But overall, most recent shows that, you know, off of the last 2 daily candles, close respecting, right? So I'm trying to see right now we can get sells coming down towards 1910. It might not be a wick entry, it might just be off rip with the closure. But you do have news at 8:30 here in about 35 minutes here. So. But yeah, that's the daily, right? So we have our levels, our major levels marked up today. I'll say you have a level in terms of major. You had a level at like, what was it, 19? I think you had 19. Yeah, you had 1914, 1910-ish, like within these ranges. And then you had a level at like 1943, and then your next level is going to be down here at 1987. And then obviously you have like up here 1980, 1981, 1980. So yeah, is there a possibility this could just be a bottom wick? There's a very high chance it could be, right? But you do have folders, so let's see what that does to price. If it hits like 8, 9, 10, 11 and you still haven't flipped yet, then sure, you know, maybe we can let go of that. But until then, we can take outer positions here. Now the 4 hour time frame obviously coming down, looking left, clean traffic to the left. Again, it should fill the range. You're looking at like at least 1916, 1914 here. I want to see if we can jump some sells very soon as well. So that's pretty straightforward. Again, but these candles here, right? I'm not sure how long you've been watching me for, but in the past you've noticed me breaking down these candles. Technically speaking, you can kind of block these candles out. This is basically a doji candle on a different given time frame, right? So this is a doji candle, and this is how the structure is being printed here. I guess you can have that there, you can have that down here, and this is the candle sort of range you're in. Any given point, you can still reject off of these areas to the left here, right? 1912, 1913, and then end up continuing to push back up, being like a range one fake out, right? Because you have this resistance here, you have this support here, I guess, right? Any given point, this can just be a range one for us to come back up into the range, right? There's a possibility. So that's how I kind of seen the 4 hour time from today. It's kind of like a doji, really, because like that's what happened. You kind of came up, came back down to the close. It basically closed doji on a daily time frame. That's what made that candle up for you today. But yeah, I do want to see if we can grab sells here. So like looking at the 4 hour candle, looks like you have clean traffic coming down towards like 1916, 1918 minimum. You can probably grab a small piece of the pie here before news. So let's see, 15 breakout lows. I'll say let's just mark up our zones first. So let's just mark up this resistance first over here. Mark up that resistance here. Mark up this support right around here. 1912, it should be tapped. Yeah, pretty decent. What is this? I'll put it there. 1915. Yeah, minor level here. 1919. Okay, cool. So yeah, so you're gonna fill the range first. Tap 1912, 1913. Between 1914 today and I'll say 1906 will be, and like that will be where we're looking for buys at, right? If there's even buys, maybe we might not get buys. Price might just fly straight through, but that's where we'll start looking for support to be formed at, and then liquidity to go up there the way, right? But we'll need to tap those levels first. So I'm trying to see if we can grab the sells here, because I'm basically anticipating prices to continue pushing down here till news, and then news might change up the direction of price, or it might just continue to push price. But let's see, what do you have here? 1 hour closure here, right? So 1 hour close, no top wick gonna pierce 1 hour high. Could we get a top wick? And then once you get a top wick, tapping into these ranges, grab sells off rip to continue down here on price. If we can grab sells, chat, at like 1925.821, I mean, that would be amazing. We don't need a wick entry, but preferably if we, I prefer wick entry, obviously, right? So we can have a better advantage point. But if we can grab 25 down towards 14, 15, that'd be amazing. That'd be perfect today. I think that'll be the previous 1 hour high. Yeah. And then obviously, yeah, so that'll be my sell levels. I'll put this as potential sells here. Wait for my call. And then I'll put buys probably be down at like, again, potential buys are going to be a long time for now, but probably like down here somewhere, like 1904-ish. For now, I'm just going to leave a line there, but I don't want to confuse anybody just yet. We're looking for sells strictly right now, because the price must come down before to fill these ranges before it makes any other move, right? But look, like it's going to fill 1914 before it decides to do whatever next. It could decide to push up, or it could decide to continue to dropping, but it's got to tap 1914 before it makes any other decision on where it wants to go today. Just like yesterday, right? Yesterday, the sells we took were based on the same reason. I'm like, okay, well, price needs to tap into 1938 before it decides on where it wants to go next, right? And then it tapped 38, and then you kind of saw price decide there. It took a long time in these ranges, 38, but that was a level that it needed to grab liquidity at before going back up, or before continuing to push further down. And that's why you range for a little bit, right? Grab some liquidity and then continue to drop off this push, right? But like these are levels that are like decision making levels. Those are levels that you kind of like high likely you're gonna fill before going elsewhere. You can kind of see it already. Every time you drop, you came down, you filled the ranges. There wasn't a time where you kind of just stop midway, right? Coming from above here, all the times you kind of just like, you came down here, stop, but then you continue to drive, right? Same thing here. You just drove straight through. Like it's just every time your price came down, it kind of came down and filled the range here, right? Same thing happened here. Filled the range there. Same thing should happen there. I don't see why not. If anything, you might see a retest of 25, but aside from that, it's just clean traffic going down towards that area on price. 1916. Right, same thing happened here. Just kind of just drove straight through the ranges. Right, so you have a similar push there on price. But yeah, man, there's like so many ways you can kind of play the markets today. So many ways you can kind of adjust the price. It's totally up to you and how you wanna see it. But yeah, should be pretty straightforward days today. I think buys or sells, you should be, no matter what position you take today, really, you should be able to come out on top. Yeah, I wanted a top wick here, but I don't know if we're gonna get one. We might just continue to drive here. Pre-news. Maybe this 5 because the top wick won't be too bad. If you can create a top wick in these ranges here, maybe on this 5 with the volume at 1921.70, I may consider that. And we'll take a pineapple worst case at 25. But overall, like 21 isn't too bad for a top wick. Because then you're expecting this 5 to close bearish and next 5, right? Like this sorta. So that's kind of what you want to see here towards 1914. Let me just put potential sells here. But even with news, I would assume that you're gonna fill the range at 14 before you, even if you were to reverse the news, you're gonna fill the range first, like 14, 16 in those areas there. It's just, let's not, you know, if we push down first and fill the ranges, then we come back up. It's a little tough, right? But the idea is that you wanna take price down towards these areas here, because it's all clean. It's all clean towards that decision level. Yeah, let's see. 1 minute for a 5 closure here, chat. I wouldn't mind taking position like right pre-news here. I believe we're gonna drive pre-news here towards 14. Should be pretty straightforward.